Hey friends, happy Wednesday. Hope you guys are having a great week so far. I am so excited to chat with you. I have a very important message that I want to share. And I got my timetables mixed up. If you're watching this from the Mind Power Collective group, I apologize. I told you I was going to go live in like an hour and I came early. So I'm going to get this shared over. If you're here, say hello. Say hello, say hello. We're going to talk about this potentially surprising reason you might be feeling stuck. And this actually came up. I'm going to let people get logged in before I dive in. But this actually came up recently in that live open coaching call that I did the 28th of October. This came up, so if you got to listen to the recording, if you snagged it before the link disappeared, then you may kind of have an idea of what this is about. And as I was thinking about this topic and just this idea of people feeling stuck, because it's the primary reason people seek any kind of support, right? Is they're stuck and they don't know what to do. And so when I see or hear that people are chronically stuck or they're feeling chronically stuck, I don't think they really understand this thing that I'm going to share with you. This potentially surprising, potentially like you may actually resist this idea entirely, but it's something that I want you to kind of approach and listen to with an open mind. Okay. So, as we were chatting in the open coaching call, we were talking about, I was answering questions and taking questions. And I got a question from a participant who was kind of talking a little bit about this history that she has. And she's seen herself kind of going through these cycles where she, makes some progress, feels really great. And then, she does this for a period of time. It can be 6 weeks, it can be a couple of months, and we all do this to some degree. And then kind of falls off, right? And can't allow herself or isn't able to get back on track. And so she gets back into this stuck space. And the ratio of time that she spends stuck versus out, doing the thing, she's more stuck than ever, right? So she's spending more time in the stuck space. And when she's there, she can't figure out why she's there, how to get out, because she's done it before. She just can't quite figure out why she keeps coming back to this thing. Now, there are lots of different things that we can talk about, and there are lots of other ways that, and reasons that you may be stuck. But this one thing in particular, right? Mindset is definitely part of it. Your belief system, your actions, your habits, your environment. Like, are you consistently doing the things that are going to move you forward? There's lots of things that we can talk about. But this one topic is something that I don't think we understand or we really go to. For most of us, we think, well, I'm just not doing enough, right? Like for me personally, my go to is generally, I'm not doing enough to get to that point, right? That's sort of in my head, I'm an action taker. But for a lot of us, the reality is the thing that's keeping us stuck is this identity that we've adopted around who we are and our relationship to that thing. Okay. And that sounds a little bit weird and maybe isn't completely clear, but let me explain. When we are moving through our lives, right, we develop this very clear identity about who we are, how we show up. And it changes over time depending on our circumstances, right? So, our beliefs are directly linked to what we're thinking and what we've experienced and what we believe to be true. And we attach an identity to that. And when I was talking to this participant on the open coaching call in particular, she was talking a bit about this victim identity, this place of, I don't like how it feels to be in that victim place. And I want to break free from it, but I keep coming back. And the thing that I asked her was really interesting, right? And it was, what are you gaining from that victim story? What are you gaining from that story? Because if you're not gaining anything, If there's nothing about that, like nothing at all that is beneficial to you, then you wouldn't be there. And I know that sounds a little crazy, but a lot of times when we're in these spaces, and when I say victim mentality, I mean like, oh, I can't do that because, I don't have enough support, or this is just the way that I grew up and this is the reality. And a part of that is a belief system. But there's something about that cycle where that we're gaining something from. It's beneficial to us. And it may require a bit of mindset gymnastics, right? Some thought gymnastics to understand what that is. But here's the thing. For a lot of us, this concept of playing small, getting stuck in this cycle over and over again is comfortable. It's uncomfortable, right? Like we want to make more money. We want to be more successful. We want to, do that thing or take that job or get out of this career. We want to do something different. But there's something about that coziness of being small, playing small. Yes, it's limiting at times, but it's also comfortable. It's comfortable because it's what you know. It's comfortable because you can like time it, you know exactly how it's going to work. You are so comfortable with the discomfort that you stay where you are. You know what to expect. You know how it's going to unfold. You know who's going to be there and who isn't. But the moment you start thinking, believing, imagining outside of that realm, what ends up happening is you go, I don't know what that looks like. I don't know what lies on the other side of this very small life that I'm living, and I am terrified. I am more afraid of what that feels like and what that could potentially be than I am of this place right here, because this is familiar. This story, this theme, this concept, this life that I'm living is familiar. Okay. And so this comes into play with our mindset. Some of the most limiting beliefs that you and I have are the things that we cling to because we know them, not necessarily because we want them, but because we know them. We know that story that says, I'm not good enough. We know the story that says, I'm not worthy and deserving of love. Why would anyone pay me to do X, Y, and Z? We know that like the back of our hand. Like we know it. And we know generally the things that lie on the other side. And I give this analogy all the time, and I think this really helps to paint the clear picture. When I'm working with clients, I often paint the picture of a path. And this goes for mindset, actions, identity, all of that. But when you are wanting to change your life, transform, transition, do something differently, you generally will reach a point in the path where you have an opportunity to go down that path that you've always gone down, the one that you know like the back of your hand. You know where every, stumbling block is, you know where every pitfall is, you know where every, sharp turn is. You've been there, you've done that, you know it, right? And then you have an opportunity to go down this other one. And this other one is uncomfortable. It's like when you go into a new town and you have to really pay attention to where you're going because you don't know. You don't know the area, right? So you have to pay attention. You have to have like all eyes and ears open. You have to pay attention to the road, to the turns, to the this and the that, as opposed to being on autopilot, right? And so for most of us, when we reach that point, without even thinking, without being aware, we automatically are going to choose that comfortable thing. Again, without thinking, because it's an automatic response, because it's the mindset that you've created, because it's a comfort that you have with this very rocky, tumultuous, chaotic road or path, right? So because you know that story, you tend to just dive into that story. But that's not where change happens. So when we're on this path and we have this path that we know so well and this path that is scary because we don't know where it twists and turns. We don't know if we have to go uphill. We don't know if we have to go downhill. We don't know if we have a sharp turn. We don't know if we have sharp rocks. We don't know anything about this. For a lot of us, that's terrifying. And even if I told you that everything that you desire, the changes, the money, the career, the abundance, the business success, the book, the whatever, the health, If I told you without a doubt, I had a crystal ball and I told you for certain that what you want is on that other path, some of you still would back away. Some of you would still question, am I ready? Is it safe? Can I do it? Like it's guaranteed. I'm saying, listen, I'm going to give you the map. And this is essentially kind of what coaching is. Let's just be real. I give you a map and I say, listen, I'm going to give you a map. I'm going to tell you all the things that you need to do, mindset wise, energy wise, and inspired action wise. I'm going to give you the map that lies within you. I'm going to give you access to that. That's going to tell you how to get to what you want on this other path. And there are so many people that go, I don't know if I'm ready. I don't know if I'm ready. I don't know if I'm ready because I'm afraid. I don't know if I can do it. What if it fails? What if I can't do it? What if I do it and people laugh at me? What if it doesn't work out? Like there's all these things that come up because it's unknown, right? But that's the double-edged sword. We're so mesmerized, comfortable with, feeling secure in this old story that we could tell you, and move down that path blindfolded. We could do it with our hands tied behind our back, no problem. But because that path, the reason you want to change is because that path doesn't feel good. That identity doesn't feel good. That feeling of, I am stuck and I have zero control. I feel like I have zero control over my life feels awful. It feels awful. And the thing that I want to let you know is that this feeling of stuck to inspire you to, okay, we're back. The thing that I want to inspire you to do today is to take a step back. And I want you to look at the identity that you are carrying in relationship to some change that you want to make or some area of your life. Okay, so say for instance, you're dealing with money or you're dealing with your career, your identity in this aspect, or maybe your identity as, a parent or a partner. Look at that identity. Look at the things that you're doing, the feelings that you're feeling, the stumbling blocks that you're hitting over and over and over again. You're repeating history. You're in a cycle. And I want you to ask yourself what that identity is doing for you. What is that identity creating for you, highlighting for you, allowing you to do? And I'll give you a really good example. Years ago, some of you may or may not know that I'm a military spouse on top of, I'm a parent and a business owner and all these things. And so there was a point when I was early on in my business and I was like trying to do all the things. And I got into this place of this mindset around, I am a military spouse, a mother, and a business owner. And because I was wearing so many hats, the identity that I had was, or the thought that I had was, I can't be incredibly successful and a really great spouse, right, who deals with deployments and is here taking, running the ship and doing all the things, and be a really great mom all at once. In my mind, my identity was I could only hold one of those identities very, very successfully. And so when it came to my business, number one, I didn't go all in. My actions were very limited. I was stuck because I kept saying, well, if I want to be a good mom, like that's the most important thing, right? I have to be a good mom. So being a good mom and being a good spouse, those two things took precedent. And when my wife was deployed for, 9 months, 15 months, whatever it was at the time, I was throwing my all into being a parent. And in my mind, my identity was, I can't have both. And it took some time for me to get out of that. And here's the thing, when I questioned myself and I said, what is going on here? Why am I saying, like, why do I feel like I can't do both, right? And it really had nothing to do with time. It had everything to do with the fact that I was using it as an excuse to not be who I needed to be in other areas. I was playing small. It was a very real thing. Like, who was going to look at me and go, you really should be more successful. I know that you're dealing with everything by yourself, but you really should be more successful. Nobody was going to say that. right? Nobody in my circle. So I was like, oh, okay, cool. So if I'm not as successful, then I'm being successful over here. I'm doing this thing that I'm supposed to do. I'm running the ship. I'm doing all the things. But my desire was to be good in all areas. My desire was to show my son what was possible, to show up, to, do this work that I love, but also be available to him. And until I was willing to get out of that identity that said I can only have one, I could only be good at one thing, then I wasn't able to do it. I was limiting myself. I was limiting my actions. My mindset was a mess, right? My energy was like, I was never really all in my business back then, right? And this is in the early days. I was literally like owning this identity of parenthood and motherhood and making these things mutually exclusive. And that's just not the reality that I choose now, right? So I'm still a military spouse. I'm still a parent. I'm still doing this work. I still love it. And I'm doing it in a way where I have owned both identities. I am choosing a different reality. And when we talk about mindset, when we talk about energy, I show up in those ways as well that reflects that. So I really want to encourage you when I do these videos and I, post them on Facebook or YouTube or wherever, my goal is to give you something to chew on, something to think about, some awareness to have, and really look at your life and look at your mindset and look at your experience and start questioning some of the things that you've been doing that aren't working for you, right? So I want to leave you with this. I want you to identify, I want you to look at your life, and I want you to look at, you might call it an identity, you might call it a story if that feels better for you, an identity or a story that has been limiting you, but it has been repetitive. It has been showing up over and over and over again in your life. And the only reason you're sticking with it, the only reason you're continuing with it is because it's comfortable. It's because it's what you know. So I want to know what that is for you. If you are here live, I want you to post like a word that describes that identity. If you are watching this on YouTube, I want you to post it as well. If you're watching the replay, I want you to post it. I want you to do this work. What is that identity that you need to shift out of that's keeping you stuck? Okay? I want you to post it. I want to hear about it. I want to know what that is for you. Because only when you really identify what that is and kind of understand your relationship to that, that's when you're more empowered. That's when you can change the story. Okay? You have to understand what that limiting identity is and what you're gaining from it. For me, in that example that I gave, I was purely gaining the excuse, right? That if I wasn't as successful in my business as I wanted to be, I had a really good reason not to be, right? And now I just don't accept that. And it's not even about like this success thing anymore. It's more about I get to show up as I choose to show up in all areas, okay? So what is that identity? What is that story that you are stepping into, right? Maybe it's that things just don't work out for you. Maybe it's that, you've always had to, one of my clients says often, and multiple clients actually talk about this idea of like, I just have to suck it up. Like I have to settle for what I have. I don't get to choose, right? And in that story, let's unpack that for just a second. If you have the story that you just have to suck it up and you don't get to choose, guess what you do? You don't choose. You don't take risks. You don't step out of your comfort zone because your identity is, well, I just have to settle here. That means you don't have to be courageous. That means you don't have to invest in yourself. That story means that you don't have to go do the things that are potentially scary and uncomfortable. Because if you assume that you're stuck, if you assume that this is who you are and this is where you will stay, that's what happens, right? So I don't want this to be super long, but I do want to know if this is helpful for you. I want to hear your stories. I want to know what comes up for you. What is the story, the identity, the thought that is popping up in mind as I talk about this? And I want to know what you're committed to doing to change it. I want to know what you're committed to doing to change it. Okay. All right, friends, I have to hop off because I have a call here shortly, but I hope this is helpful. Again, if you're watching this on Facebook, I want to hear your comments below. If you are watching this on YouTube, make sure you like and subscribe to my channel. I've got plenty of new content coming out for you, so make sure that you stick around for that. In the meantime, thank you for being here. And remember, you get to be, have, and do whatever it is that you desire, but you really have to get three things in order to do that: your mindset, your energy, and taking inspired action. And stick around here. I'm going to be sharing with you all those tips, but I really want you to take this information and apply it to your life. Okay. You have that power. You get to create that. And it really does all lie in your hands. You don't need anyone to save you. Okay. All right, friends, I hope this is helpful. I hope that you have an amazing rest of your week. I want to hear your comments, post them below, and I will chat with you soon. Okay. Take care. Bye.